Gotham Knights had a Q&A yesterday with their developers on Discord. A lot of questions were asked and a lot of questions were answered. Let me tell you guys some of the questions that got answered. Before I talk through, idiots, make sure to comment down below on what you thought of this developer Q&A, like the video if you enjoy, and subscribe for more Gotham Knights content. And if you don't subscribe, then you're not getting any of Nightwing's cake. So this Q&A went on for just over an hour, and we learned a good chunk of information. One of the biggest questions that were asked was, how many villain stories will we have? Is it going to be just Mr. Freeze, Harley Quinn, and Clayface, or are we potentially going to see more? Do you want to know the answer, guys? Do you want to know? The developers said, yep, our trio of rogues gallery all have some unfinished business with our heroes, but don't forget we have the Court of Owls as our main threat in the game, blah, 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 blah. Guys, what the fuck?
Jesus Christ.
They're fucking trying to tell me that we only have 3 side villains in the game, only Harley Quinn, Mr. Freeze, and Clayface? Are you fucking kidding me? Just why? Why the fuck? Why are there only 3 side villains in the game? That was the angry side of me thinking, and this is the side of me who has thought more about the question and the answer. The question was asking about villain stories. Is it just those 3 or will there be more? They said, yep. Okay, yep to those are the only 3 side villains in the game, or yep, there will be more later in the game. Judging off of what they said later on with their answer, it looks like, yep, it's just those 3 villain stories and no more than that. They're saying how they put a lot of thought and effort into those 3 villain stories, so hopefully those 3 villain stories end up being amazing. Right now, guys, I'm thinking of quality versus quantity. Now, from my opinion and other opinions I hear out there, quality is usually preferred, and I stand by that. There's a small part of me that's thinking, okay, if those really are the only 3 side villains in the game, then hopefully they end up being amazing and worth it. And the other large part of me is thinking, I mean, I'm glad you guys are putting a lot of effort into these 3 side villains and all, but really, only 3? You couldn't have done more? I mean, that's so little. I don't want to compare here, guys, but I will for argument's sake. Arkham Knight had so many side villains in that game. They had at least like 10 villains. 10 villains for a game that came out 7 years ago. And 7 years later, we only get 3 side villains? That's just fucking crazy to hear, and I'm sure that is probably very disappointing to a lot of people. It disappoints me a lot. But let me think smart here for a second, guys. I usually never think smart for any second, but let me just think smart for this 1 second. They said villain stories. So will there be the main story mission, the villain story missions, and some side missions maybe? WB Games Montreal probably meant that there are only 3 villains that they went above and beyond with. They put a lot of effort into them and everything. Those are the villain stories, and then normal side missions may just be shorter, much simpler missions featuring some other villains. Like Two-Face maybe. I know we all know of that one Two-Face tease, so maybe he is in the game still as a part of a side mission, but not as a villain story. Or he is a part of the main story somehow. We know Penguin kinda is, so what other villains will there be in the main story? Okay, hold on, okay guys. Speaking of Penguin, guys, he's in the game. He's a side villain in the game. He's a side villain without a villain story. He's just a part of the main story a little bit and all of that. So I'm just hoping that what WB Games Montreal meant to say was we have a lot of side villains in the game, but only 3 of those side villains have their own big villain story, and the other side villains are either a part of the main story somehow or have their own little side mission. I'm hoping that's what they meant, and if that's the case, then I'm fine with that. I'm completely fine with that. Another question was, will there be any missions where it forces a certain knight? We will never force you to play a certain knight in any scenario. You are free to play everything in the game with the character of your choice. This is a pretty good question and answer too, honestly. I'm 90% sure. No, 95% sure this is... No, okay. 90% sure. We'll go with 90. I'm 90% sure that this question was already answered a while back. I still wanted to put it here though, because I felt like I should mention it. It's a pretty good answer, honestly. I'm glad that the studio is allowing us to play the game with our creative freedom. It's a good choice, honestly. Another important question, guys. It's a big one. Are you ready? Will Alfred be playable? Sadly, no. We did consider options for this very early in production, but narratively and scope-wise, this didn't work out for us. Guys, we don't get to play as Alfred motherfucking Pennyworth. No! It would have been so funny beating the shit out of everyone in Gotham with Alfred. Another question, will there be a photo mode? Now, this I'm 99% sure that this was already confirmed, but they said yes, there is a photo mode in the game. That's great to hear. This one's pretty cool. How many skins does the Bat Cycle have? They said that there are 3 different Bat Cycle skins with a variety of different colorways that can be applied. Will you release a soundtrack when the game releases? Absolutely, yada yada yada, comes out on the 21st. Now this is one of the last questions for this Q&A, and this question happens to be about Tim, and I'm guessing that some of you may already know where I'm going with this. Will Tim be bi in this universe, and will there be other forms of representation in the game? Tim is bi in the comics, therefore, Tim will be bi in the game. They said a little bit more to this, but this is just the main point. So it looks like he will be bi in the game. He's been bi in the comics now for just over a year. August 2021 was when it all happened, so I'm guessing this was probably a last minute change then. 2018, 2019, 2020 was when they were working on the game. I'm guessing they kept him straight and thought nothing else of it, but when August 2021 swings by, they have to make a last-minute change to make Tim buy in the game. I know this has been a recurring question that's been going on, and it looks like we finally have our answer. Now let me ask you guys this. What do you guys think of all the answers we got for these questions? I mean, there were a lot more questions on the Discord, and I unfortunately couldn't go over all of them in this video. A lot of the questions went over the cosmetics and all for the game, and if I'm being completely honest, guys, even with all the answers they gave us to our cosmetic-related questions, I'm still pretty confused on how all of it works. This was actually a pretty good Q&A, if I'm being perfectly honest, and if you guys want to see the whole Q&A for yourself, then I'll have the link for the Discord in the description if you guys want to check it out. Comment down below what your biggest takeaway was from this Q&A, like the video if you enjoyed, and subscribe for more Gotham Knights content. See you next time, you beautiful bitches.